but so proudly we hail. And the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the path.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Freedom Network. I'm Gary, right here live at NCTV 11 for now. And here we are to bring you another live edition of Talking Politics, talking the issues, doing what we do best. We have all kinds of things going on, but we are going to talk tonight about cable and about cable access and about the possibility that it could potentially go away. It could go away. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We will have a guest join us in a few minutes, Michael Lynch from Mass Access. We'll get to him, I think, about 10 past. If not, maybe a little bit sooner, but we'll get there. I do want to give a shout out to everybody tonight that is, well, before I do anything, let me bring Jim in. Jim,
Right.
welcome back to the
Nice
Freedom
to see you,
Network.
Gary.
Jim, we're going to get you a spot
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah, you noticed.
Oh,
that.
you got the
I brought
cup,
that to your
the
attention.
cup. Yes.
I noticed.
Yeah,
that
it doesn't
the open
say.
doesn't have my name there. I
It
know.
doesn't have your
Am I
name. It does
sidekick?
not
Am I
on the
your
open.
sidekick?
I mean, you know, you
What's
really
going
you
on?
should have a spot. You should have a spot. We got to get him a spot. All right, hang on.
All right.
We'll get it. We will get it. So, I want to give a shout out. I know we've been talking and I frequenting obviously, but talking with people over at the Valley Pub in Northbridge. Brought you in there for the very first time the other day.
Yeah, I haven't been in there since I don't know when it was Time Out or something a long time ago.
Yeah, well, you're going way back. We
right.
used to even have a pool team out of there. Remember?
Yep.
They had a pool table.
That's right. They do not now.
They don't.
The
But
one flaw I think they may have.
yeah, it's the only in one flaw. What isn't a flaw is that steak night tonight, right? I
Right.
know my wife, my sister-in-law are down there. I'm going down after here.
They saving you
I'm
one?
going down. I ate because I didn't. This all came together rather late.
I see.
So I did have a bite to eat. I mean, you know, you never know what could happen, I guess. But I hear that it's really good. It's one of the great local haunts in Northbridge. There's a lot of great local haunts in this town.
Right.
There really and truly are. But Maureen and Noreen and Pam and everybody else that's down there and the phenomenal bartenders that are down there, they're great. They get you, and they get food in there. But, you know, it's interesting. Steak night, I thought, was a really neat concept. The only issue I have with it is that it's Wednesday. And it's happening now, and I'm
They
here.
certainly weren't thinking of you, Gary, when
No, they weren't. You
when they
know?
made the decision that Wednesday night is steak
Right,
night.
right. They didn't take the Freedom Network into consideration, but that's all right because I'm going to come down there and bother you guys in about, I'd say, an hour and 15 minutes. I'll be there. Anyway, it's interesting. I was going to do a program, and we got to get this together on a lot of the great places in Northbridge because there's a lot. There's great local bars, pubs. I mean, you hear so much about places like even Crothers Tire. Great things that happen about, you know, people talk on Facebook about it all the time. There's a lot of great businesses. We should have a show on local access that just deals with local businesses. We should.
When
That
I
just
first
spotlights them.
moved out here, there wasn't much of anything.
No, and look at what's happened in town. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really grown. And the surrounding towns as well, obviously. There's a lot of great places to go. You won't be able to hear about them forever, though, on local cable. If this
Yeah.
happens, my friend.
Right?
This is not good. Now, I did have to digress for 1 second. Just for a second here, and then we'll get to this because I have to keep the integrity of the program rolling. And I know that on Facebook there was a lot of talk about Trump and him not going to the, oh, look at this. We got calls coming in. I don't have this obviously on mute. Isn't that interesting? You know, it's very interesting.
Just answer it then.
I should just answer it and see who it is. You never know who it could be. You know, you don't just want to answer a phone cold.
They'll tell you in the
You
booth
know?
in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, yeah. I think we probably got mass access on there.
All right, well, then I guess
So yeah, I'm gonna put Trump aside. Oh,
Whoa, wait a second.
I know
You're
the
in trouble.
faithful are gonna go ballistic. God, Gary, you know we're gonna.
He is king. I don't know how you put the king aside.
I don't understand it, man. I just don't understand how that works. I'm not anti him. I don't think he's a terrible person. I know he's not what they make him out to be.
Well, he's certainly not the worst president we've ever had.
No, he's not. But, you know, man, the guy's not always 100%.
No.
But look, we're going to talk. I think we're going to go to Michael Lynch now. And we're going to talk to him. He's from Mass Access. And we're going to talk about something that's very serious. You know, we've been kidding around here in the beginning of the program, but there is an opportunity for the government to okay something that will remove this. It literally could go away. We're going to learn about that. Let's bring them right in because I don't have a ton of information on this, but I do want to make sure that we get facts out there because that's important. That is really important. So I want to bring in Michael Lynch from Mass Access. Michael, are you there?
I'm here.
You're there. There you are. All right. Well, welcome to the Freedom Network.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're entirely welcome. I hope the volume's all right on that. Is the volume all right on that? Because I was messing with the volume when it was ringing. Yeah, I should turn it up a little bit. All right, let me see what I can do here. All right, that should give us a little bit better on the volume. Michael, so tell us, if you can, a little bit about you and what Mass Access is, and then we'll get into the actual heart of the issue.
Sure. So my name is Michael Lynch. I am the Executive Director for Milton Access TV, which is a local PEG station out of Milton, Massachusetts. I've been involved with community media for over 20 years now. I'm also a member of Mass Access, which is a nonprofit advocacy group that works on behalf of all of the local PEG stations across the state of Massachusetts.
Okay, and so when we talk about PEG, we're talking about public educational television?
Education and government programming.
Okay.
So each city and town in the state of Massachusetts does have one or if not three local PEG stations for their town.
Okay, so let's look at it like this. Now we know everything obviously comes down to money. So how are these stations funded today? How is it that we're sitting here, we're talking to the people at the Valley Pub, people in their homes, and even people online everywhere? How are we doing that? What funds that?
Sure, I can tell you that. So in order for cable companies to conduct business in a city or town, what they do is they enter into a franchise agreement with the local franchising authority, which is usually your city or town selectman, your cable advisory board, your mayor, and so on. So in order for cable companies to come into your town and put their physical wires up on your poles in your rights of way, the cable companies then give back to the town up to 5% of their gross annual revenue from their cable revenue, which is then deemed for PEG stations. So basically, if you have Comcast or if you guys have Charter out there, they are required per the franchise fee to pay up to 5% of their revenue back to the town for PEG-related purposes. So that's how our stations are funded.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's actually a great explanation. And
So the town, each individual town is allowing Charter or whoever to access our poles to then sell us cable access.
right.
Okay.
And it seems like in return, they ensure that we have public access to the airwaves.
Right. So we have public access on the airways. They provide free cable drops to schools and public buildings. And they provide something that's called an iNet, which is our interconnectivity between the public buildings. So, for instance, if I'm broadcasting a selectmen's meeting or if we're broadcasting a football game from the high school, we then are able to transmit that back to our head office to then broadcast out to the residents. So those are the things that they are required to do for us.
I get it. All right, so that makes sense. So we're saying you want to do business here, or you want to do business anywhere. Now, how did this all come about? Is this part of a FCC regulation?
Yep. So this is actually part of the Communications Act of 1934. There was also the Cable Communications Policy Act of 1984, and then the Telecommunications Act of 1996, which is often referred to as the Cable Act. So this is all, federally mandated regulation.
Okay. So, what is it that is happening right now that could change this?
Right. So right now, the FCC has issued what they're calling it's an FNPRM, which is a further notice of proposed rulemaking. And what that is that any agency within the government that wants to add, remove, or change a rule or regulation is required to do this. So it's kind of like hey there, heads up, we're thinking about changing a rule here. So what they're proposing to do is they are concluding that that they should be treating all cable-related in-kind contributions required by a franchise agreement as franchise fees, and so, that are subject to the statutory 5% cap. So what exactly does that mean? So the cable companies are required to, to give back the 5% franchise fee, or up to 5% for a PEG station operation. And what the FCC is now concluding is that those cable companies can then deduct the services that they provide those stations, the in-kind services from that fee. So everything I listed from the free cable drops for school buildings, the interconnectivity of those buildings, and then for us, and why I'm here talking to you tonight, and what we're concerned about is that the cable companies might actually be able to deduct the cost of transmission of these stations, which is something that we've never had to do before. And the thing that we're concerned about is that in-kind is so broadly defined is that we don't know how much that would cost or what they could charge back for in-kind, and we don't believe that there might be any limit as to what they can charge back. So that's really what we're concerned about, and that's really how, if this rule becomes, goes into effect, essentially could wipe out funding for all public access stations, not just in Massachusetts, but across the country.
Yeah, I mean, what a loss. What kind of? I mean, what a loss.
Listen, I'm not that bright a guy, but if I were part of the town
No.
and I own these poles that I allowed them to access
Right.
so that they could then sell us cable TV,
Right.
if they're going to turn around now that they're on every pole in town and other towns, why don't I say that's fine, do that, and you can remove all your equipment from our pole? Then they have nothing to sell anybody.
I mean,
Aren't there easy ways to stop this?
I don't know how. Well, that's a great question, Jim. How do you stop this, Michael? I mean, where is this right now in reality? Let me ask you that question. Is this something that the FCC has proposed? So there's got to be a vote on it. Is there an imminent vote? Is this something that could be happening now, or is this one of these? It's working its way through the system.
Oh yeah, sure. Good question. So to give you some dates and the timeline. So the initial FNPRM was released on September 25th of this year. So that was the FCC releasing that they are thinking about this rule change. It was logged into the Federal Register on October 15th. So what that is that once the rule is logged, the public can respond and submit comments in support or opposition of this rule. The comment period, that public comment period, is actually ending this evening at 11:59 tonight. And once that public comment period ends, we will then have a chance to respond to any of their comments that were received. So we are submitting comments in opposition to this rule, and cable companies will submit comments in favor of the rule, so we can then, sort of respond to their comments. So after November 14th, that's when the reply comment period will end. We're not exactly too sure what will happen after that. I mean, it will come to a point where the FCC will vote on this rule. We're anticipating that would be in 2019, probably towards the summer months. And once that rule comes into effect, if we are not successful in our comments and our opposition to get sort of in-kind defined and to make sure that it's not going to completely wipe us out, we'll have to appeal this order in court. And that's what we're thinking that would probably happen sometime in late 2019, early 2020. So that it's very nerve-wracking for us, as directors of these stations, because we really, once the rule comes down into effect, we don't know how long it'll take for the cable companies to then define what their in-kind contributions will be, what they will amount to, and then when it will start deducting from our funding.
Yeah, that probably won't take very long. I'm sure
Yeah, I'm sure
I'm
it
sure
won't.
they
Yeah.
already know.
So let me ask you this
so
question.
our plan is to definitely, we're going to fight this right till the end. We're planning on, appealing the rule. We're going to hopefully get a stay on the rule, so that would mean that everything would stay status quo until the appeal process is done. But yeah, this could be very soon.
So you're talking about just in months here. This is not a long time. My first question is, if we're talking about, we talked in the beginning about the fact that there were laws and statutes that were put in place, backdating as early as 1934, another one in 1984, and you listed a few others. How is it that where did these statutes come from? Did they come from the FCC? How does the FCC do this without the government getting involved if there are statutes within the government that protect it?
So the FCC has an authority to interpret and enforce these acts, which are written by Congress, and the landscape of the FCC has changed in recent years, and from what we can tell, it's just, they might be sort of favoring larger companies as opposed to, the individual peg centers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, they have, they have authority over these acts to interpret them, to enforce them, and then what they're doing now to propose changes to them.
So the recourse would have to be through court, not through government.
Right.
Gotcha. And Mike, it's very interesting because what it seems to me, and I saw a quick blurb on I think it was ABC local, whatever I was watching before I came here. I forget what station it was, that really quickly talked about it. Now this was only about a 15 to 20-second story, but they said your cable access, excuse me, your cable access could be going away. But the cable providers say that this could lower your bill. So this is going to be the tack that they're going to take. So we were just talking outside, and how is it going to lower your bill? Much like I think the insurance company lowered your insurance after the seatbelt law was passed. How they said they were going to lower your insurance, that never happened. I don't believe the cable companies will lower anything. And you're talking about 5%. So if an average bill is $100, you're talking about $5 for the locals. That's probably just a few cups of coffee, right?
Well, and plus,
Right. So
I just got
I'm
something.
sure that's what the cable company is going with, is that the fee for peg funding, it's actually on your bill, and if you took out your cable bill, you would see that listed on there.
Yeah.
And to your point, Gary, it's about $4 to $5. So for the cable companies say, yeah, we're going to save money on your bill. Well, okay, so it's going to drop you $4 or $5. Is that really worth losing all of the public programming that the town is provided with? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think what would have to happen is that it's really amazing because the reality is going to be that your cable bill's never going to go down. Maybe if you change, people or there's a special offer, but cable bills are like phone bills that are like taxes. They very rarely go down.
I just got a notice that fees were going to be going up.
That they were going up.
Yeah.
At Oxbridge.
Yeah.
Who do you have there?
I have Spectrum Charter. Same
Yeah,
thing.
Spectra Chatham, which is just a gem. Aren't they a gem? We've been around the block with them. So what is it, the best thing for people to do is before midnight tonight to go to, is it just go to massaccess.org/FCC? Can we get that up there? I don't know if we can do that now. I should have said that before. And you can find a link and you can get to a place where you can put in your comments. Is that right?
Yep, so that's right. So it's you're right. It's www.massaccess.org/FCC. And what that does is takes you to our website, and we give you very detailed instructions on how to file. And for me, actually, when I first had to tackle this, I was kind of concerned. I'm not a lawyer. I don't deal with the government. I didn't know what I'd be up against for filing, and it's actually very simple. We tell you to go to the express filing, which all you need to do is put in the docket number, which is listed on the website, and I'll give it to you now. It's 05-311. You put in your name, your address, your email, and then you submit a comment about, how important public access is to you. If you value the programming, if you know people that are involved with it, if your children volunteer at the station, if they take classes after school, anything like that should be logged for a comment. So again, those comments are due by 11:59 this evening. Also on our website too, so we did mention that this will probably come down quick, and then we're going to have to appeal it in court. So we are always looking for, if someone didn't want to make a comment or couldn't make it in time, and they maybe wanted to donate to our cause, we have a donation link up on our website. So those are really the two things that we can do at this point.
Okay, and it's interesting. What is his name? I don't even know how to say his name, but the CEO for Charter, Rutledge, I guess you'd say, Tom Rutledge.
Yep.
Now, I am a very big proponent of people, having great ideas, running great companies, and making mega bucks. I have no issue with it whatsoever. I don't see rich people as the enemy at all, nor do I see successful businesses as a bad thing. But this is a guy that's running Charter, made $98 million in 1 year in salary and benefits. And, between Charter and Comcast, they've spent roughly $30 million, most of that from Comcast, but about $7 million of it from Charter, in lobbying. So they're spending all this money to lobby. Do you really think they're spending all this money to lobby to save you money? Again, the seatbelt law is the best possible equation, because you had the insurance companies lobbying and spending big bucks to save you money. Like, come on, don't you guys smell a rat? Because I smell a rat. I think they just want to pocket another 3 to 5% of the money,
Right.
and keep it away from the local. What else do we have to know about this, Michael? Anything?
They're trying to. They're also, as technology gets greater and greater, and more people move to wireless communications, companies are starting to deploy small cell 5G wireless. So we're thinking, well, and I know that the cable companies are thinking, well, in order to deploy that and meet the demand of wireless infrastructure, well, we're going to have to pay for that somehow. And rather than take it out of our profit, or take it out of our salaries, or take it out of, let's eliminate this 5% fee that we pay to the town for PIG programming and use that for it.
Right. So yeah, exactly. And that is so spot on, because that's what they want to do. So instead of raising the cost, because they're already doing that, as Jim just pointed out, they want to try to trim some bills, some fat as they see it. So the fat that they see, now think about this, folks, the fat that they see is your local access, not any other fat. Why don't they just cut a few bucks out of lobbying? What do you think they're lobbying for? They're going to spend $7 million in Charter to lobby. What are they going to lobby for? They're lobbying to make more money. They're not lobbying to save you a penny. There's no way that could be so. I mean, that would mean that they were, just so wonderful. And I mean, I can't even get Charter to work right, for crying out loud. Never mind, I mean, jeepers. Oh, it's crazy.
Was there some sort of contract with each town individually, for them to wire our poles? I mean,
yeah. So the cable companies do have a contract directly with the municipality. They're typically 10 years long.
Okay.
So that's the other. Why is the FCC trying to remove that control from local government? That's beyond me. I just don't understand why they would do it.
Yeah, it does. It does seem rather odd to me. It does seem rather odd to me. Yeah. What other questions you got? Anything?
Well,
Folks, if you have any quick questions, you can certainly email me. I don't want to keep Michael all night, but anything else that we need to know, Michael? What have we left out? Anything?
No, just like I said, the deadline's tonight. But if you find some time to log on and the comments don't have to be long. Just be a quick few sentences about your interaction with community media and how much you value it. We would greatly appreciate all of those comments.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got comments. They've got, well, Charter's got $7 million, and I'm sure Comcast is really pushing this as well with their $23 million. They're going to spend $30 million to save you money. Guys, come on. You got to smell the rat in the room. Michael, I really want to thank you for coming on. I know we're a little short notice, but thank you so much for coming on. It's mass access. We're going to continue to talk about it. If we get any info or questions that we can't answer, we'll certainly forward them along to you. But I really appreciate you being on. This is a real serious issue.
Yeah, it's big.
It really is.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me and letting your viewers know about this issue.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and I'd like to have you back on with any and all updates that you get. Please drop us a line. Our email is constitution, the number 4, and then freedom@gmail.com. Get in touch with me because this is not something that we should let go.
Right.
We really shouldn't.
Yeah, no, we will keep you up to date. And to your point, if any of your viewers have questions, or if you guys have questions, you want to direct them to us. All of our email addresses are listed on the website, so you can certainly visit massaccess.org to get all of your information and ways to contact us as well.
Awesome, man. Thank you so very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, Michael.
Bye.
Well, that's something, isn't it?
It is something.
You know?
The first thing that I can think of here as a way to combat this.
Yeah.
Now, this town here only has the one choice. It has the
Right.
Spectrum, and that's the choice.
Right.
Some towns are like that, and other towns aren't. I think Grafton actually has Verizon as an option, Verizon
Yes.
Fios as an option as well.
Yeah.
And there are other towns that have several options. Would any of those companies be willing to pick up where Charter wants to let down?
It does seem like it opens up an opportunity for another company to really swoop in. I mean, wouldn't that be something?
Because that's the only
To
other way.
swoop in
off
and
the
just
top
say,
of
you
my
know
head,
what,
it's the only
we
way,
feel
other
it's
way I
im-
feel
right,
like
we
I could
feel it's
combat
important.
this. Yeah.
You're right, because it's going to take a lot of letters. So if you're
And
watching,
they'd look like community lovers as well. Someone like Verizon. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not like they
absolutely.
don't have deep pockets. They could
absolutely,
potentially.
absolutely.
What do we got? Another phone?
Well,
Two
yeah,
phones?
we just got an equipment swap going on here. There we go. See that? Boom. Gotta love
Whose
live.
arm was that?
I love live. I'll never tell. I'll never tell. It does. It seems like a wild thing, and I don't care if the guy makes $100 million or
No, I
close
don't
to
care.
it. I don't care about that. Make $500 million,
Right.
but don't do it by trying to screw around with what's been since the beginning. It's not something that you pay taxes for. And I'm sorry about my cheap shot comment about the cup of coffee. I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. All right, I couldn't resist. But there's no way you're going to save your $5 a month. There is no way that this passes, and then they might initially say credit $5 from FCC Act something.
Sure, yeah.
But then something else will go up, and then that will just eventually go away. And who reads the bill anyway, right? I mean, half the people don't even read the bill. This really seemed to me like.
Well, listen, he didn't sound like there was a lot of hope. I mean, at least in the beginning here. Like,
Yeah,
this is
no,
gonna
he
this is gonna
seems-
be voted.
yeah. And the FCC
Bad.
can just do this. And the only thing you got to combat all those millions of dollars is your computer and your email or your ability to get online. So I'll give it again. It's massaccess.org/FCC. And you'll need the docket number, which is 05311. You can get this information from me, but I'd love you to email now so I can reply because I don't always have the service and the ability. And we get a ton of emails, and the deadline is tonight. So if you like to have the local stations, you really want to help this out. You want to at least do your part and give them a note telling them that it's of value
Right.
to you. Even the bulletin boards, when you just put it on and there's no programming on, but there's the bulletin boards. They tell you what's going on,
going on in
what's
town.
happening in town,
Yep.
all that kind of stuff. Besides the fact, and I've worked on both sides of it. I've worked on the commercial side, where it's just about making money, and I've worked in this side where it's just about having fun and doing something that you're passionate about. And what's interesting is this is definitely more fun because when you're on there and you're worried about sponsors, for example, right? Someone that's giving you money to be on, you might not say this. You censor yourself a little bit. Sometimes there's policies within organizations that you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that.
Right.
Politics gets involved with it. And when you come here, you can just do what you want to do
Yeah.
because it's yours. Now that's huge. I mean, to me, that's very, very big. I think it's baloney that they're gonna just try to omit that.
Right.
They're just gonna try to omit that, which is wild. I mean, it really is.
Yeah. I don't understand how it can be that easy.
That the
honestly.
FCC can just make a decision and say that's what it is, and then you see all these places go down, and then what'll happen is you know you'll still have some access, I guess, right, as we were talking about, and it'll mostly probably be through schools
Yeah.
who won't keep up with it. They won't.
No, because
They'll use it. Some of the more dynamic
There's still
teachers
some
and
funding.
stuff will.
Right.
Right.
There'll
There's still
be
some funding.
happening.
That
It's not
funding
like
will go in
all
there,
the money goes away.
which could
But
really.
the ones that are running it through a school, they're probably diverting 2/3 of that money anyway.
Well, I'd love to know where all that, where that does go, and maybe it goes. I don't know where it goes, so I'm not gonna just.
There's probably a teacher that volunteers his time right now. He's not getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
We have people here that get paid to be here and run this place.
Oh yeah, this is a professional television studio that's run for
And I'm
you.
sure several other towns have a similar.
Absolutely. I mean, I worked in one in Stoughton. It's a great facility actually. I mean, it really is a great facility, with all kinds of stuff. Much
Sure.
bigger town than this town is, but you can come and do a program. You can decide that you want to do a program on a hobby, on painting, on whatever it is, because what you're saying, like we just talked about, was that we're trading you to make $100 million as the CEO. We can be part of that, but in return, we want the ability to have access to the airwaves.
Yeah.
They're not even airwaves, they're cable waves now, right? But we want access to that. And I think that's, now does this affect like, I should have asked him this, like PBS or anything like that? It doesn't, see? It doesn't. And it's interesting that those areas are protected because those are some pretty wild political places
Yeah.
that they just kind of easily, I guess, can get around. But, there's a lot of local, Worcester has a very big local access community. Northbridge does. We've seen that. I mean, how many times when we start talking about taxes and all this other kind of stuff, how many times do we see the phones light up and all that kind of stuff, all that kind of stuff.
We're getting all kinds of things fed.
Yeah, I mean, because there's breaking news on this because it's happening now. See, that's the whole thing is this is not one of those things that as we were talking about is 5 years down the road, maybe it's in a committee. No, this is something that's there. It's on the docket, and
gonna
in the
change fast.
fall. I mean, I'm sorry, in the summer of 2019. That's not long. Look,
No.
it's going to snow tomorrow. That means the fall is the next season. I mean, the spring. Listen to me, and then it's summer. So you're talking a handful of weeks, maybe 2 handfuls of weeks, and they'll be thinking about, okay, when do we want to slate this in? Oh, I
What
don't
do you
know.
got there?
Here's what I got. Well, I got letters, and I got stuff. What I did want to do is thank Dave Meridian and Ryan Fatman and Mike Moore, letters that they wrote. I have copies of their letters that they did write, which we can take a look at, Jim, if you'd
Sure.
like. This one, this is interesting. There's 2 different letters.
You're gonna throw it in. You're gonna
You
throw
know
that
I'm
out
going to
there?
throw in the fact that they couldn't all sign one letter. They had one from mostly Democrats and then one from Republicans, but it looks like Michael Moore did sign on to the letter with David and Ryan. It's interesting. But then on this letter, there's only Democrats, I think, on it. I don't know.
No, that's all right. You know
Don't
what?
forget
The
that
important-
lobbying money. The
important thing is that
Republicans,
they signed it.
the Republicans, which we may talk about in a little while. We'll see if we can't make some room for Chris maybe, but these letters are good. The one that's from Dave, who just won re-election, Ryan and Michael, everybody's job was in jeopardy, I guess, the other day, right? I'm going to read this really quick. On behalf of our many constituents who value local access channels, we are writing to express our extreme opposition to the proposed rule being considered by the FCC that would significantly reduce funding for our local public, educational, and governmental channels. The newly proposed rule would allow major cable companies to limit the amount of spending for community programming, which has been previously negotiated as part of a licensing agreement between these companies and individual municipalities. Companies such as Verizon Fios, Comcast Xfinity, and RCN are among those that would be enabled to cut spending as a result of this rule. The result will negatively impact thousands of customers who rely on this programming to keep apprised of community events, local government meetings, and other activities. This would not only have a direct effect on viewers within our respective districts, but also on the students within various high schools throughout Massachusetts. Several students that are studying film in local schools have previously voiced their opposition to this rule, as it would limit the funding provided to film programs and make it close to impossible to purchase the necessary equipment needed. If this rule is approved, it is expected that the funding towards public educational and government channels in at least one of our communities will be cut by at least 2/3 and take effect within approximately 30 to 60 days after the rule change has been finalized. It is also our understanding that this rule would allow the local provider to recategorize cable TV to cable data, which would result in a complete loss of funding for local programming in our district. Overall, this proposed rule would hinder the operational budgets of numerous local cable networks, as well as place additional burdens on limited community resources. To that end, we respectfully request that this rule proposed by the FCC be rejected because it would have an overall negative impact on thousands of constituents from our districts and other individuals throughout Massachusetts.
That's crazy.
It's a great letter.
So much for approaching one of the other companies to see if they, hey,
Yeah.
you want to take over?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like they're
No,
all involved.
They're all in
with
bed. They're all in bed, just like the insurance companies were. That's from Dave Meridian, who is our state rep. Ryan Fatman, Worcester and Norfolk District State Senator, and Michael Moore, 2nd Worcester District State Senator. So that's a great letter, and great that you guys sent it. And the other letter, which is probably going to say the same thing, but we'll give it the same play that we gave the first letter. But this one is from Markey, it's from Tammy Baldwin, it's from Ben Carden, Margaret Hassan, Jeffrey Merkley, Bernard Sanders. Interesting. We all remember him. Let's see. Gary Peters, Ron Wyden, Richard Blumenthal, Patrick Leahy, and Elizabeth Warren. Oh, now everyone's going to say, wait a minute. If
Well, wait a
Elizabeth
minute.
Warren's against us, I better be for it.
Some may.
Some may. Politics make strange bedfellows. But it does, because at the end of the day, you've got a host of U.S. senators, and I understand that these are all U.S. senators, and then these are our, but you know what, it doesn't really matter. We should have, there should be one massive letter, and there should be thousands of, not thousands, but, well, for us, thousands, and for them, hundreds of signatures. This should be an easy thing. No politician should really oppose this, because all you're doing is taking from the people,
Right.
and you're not giving them anything back. You're not giving them anything back. There is no, I am telling you, there is no way that your cable bill is going to go down $4 a month on average. It's not going to happen.
No.
As we sit here.
No. And if it does, it'll return in some other form in a very short period of time.
All right, this one's a quick one. Dear Chairman, we write regarding the Federal Communications recent vote to proceed with the item implementation of Section 621A-1 of the, they're so official. They're so official. Of the Cable Communications Policy Act of 1984 as amended by the Cable Television Consumer Protection and Competition Act of 1992. This proposal would potentially alter at the cable operator's discretion the terms of the governing agreements between local franchising authorities and cable operators. In its current form, the proposal puts at risk critical funding for public educational or governmental stations, as well as broadband connections and schools and other public buildings. Our constituents watch PEG channels and monitor local government proceedings, hear the latest news from nearby college campuses, and consume other locally produced programming, including energy alerts and directives. Your proposal may jeopardize these important functions. We encourage you you and your colleagues on the commission to ensure that any final decision will not threaten the sustainability of the PEG stations. Interesting. Under the Communications Act, towns and cities across the country are permitted to require as part of cable franchises, okay, and we know what that all is, we don't have to go over it. In an era of media globalization and consolidation, PEG access stations continue to give viewers critical information about their communities and offer important platform for local voices. They catalyze civic engagement, and they provide invaluable educational services. As the Commission proceeds on this issue, we urge you to consider the potential impact on PEG stations. Thanks for your time. The previously signed.
You have a phone call, Gary?
I'm going to get the call. Thanks to all you guys that did send this in, because it does mean something. I know what could be coming at me, too. I'm ready for it.
Okay.
I'm ready for it. All right. Let's bring you on in. Good evening. You're on the Freedom Network. What say you?
Hey,
Hey.
Barnicle,
Yes.
twice you mentioned that the town's polls.
Right.
Those polls don't belong to the town.
I don't know who they belong to, but I think the town gave them permission to string their lines up 40
they
years
belong to
ago.
the phone company and the light company.
Okay.
Well, it seems as though for some reason we get some kind of right away.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Made
the
a
public
deal with
right
the-
away that they pay for. It's the public right away.
I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
How many people watch our public access?
Well, I don't think that there's an absolute determining factor. We usually go. All right, let me put it to you this way. Here's a good gauge you can use. When I used to work at the small little radio stations, right? We used to go by calls because we didn't get ratings like any of the rating books.
Yeah.
Arbitron is one of them. They send you these booklets. You keep track of what you do, and you send it back, and they send you $1, and they still do that. But that's how they get a lot of your ratings on radio. But at the really small level, those don't register. So what happens is we get some data that it's ironic here because the FCC actually way back in the 80s helped to provide some of this information, that you could gauge an amount of listeners or people that were motivated to call a program and apply a number to that. And that number was between 200 and 300 people per one would be motivated. For every 200 to 300 people watching or listening on a radio program, one person would be motivated to pick up the phone and to call the program. And that would be at that time, because people watch these programs, and especially in radio, in segments. So it's really hard to quantify how many people would watch for the hour. When emails came into it and became a factor, that number actually goes down because more people are willing to email
than they
are to call. So it goes to about it goes to about I think it was about 100 to 150. So to best answer your question, when we have a regular old type of show, I would say let's say you're the only guy that calls today. I'd say there's about 200 to 300 people that are watching.
I'm involved with the station. I do the high school football games,
Yeah.
Okay.
home games.
Yep.
I'm just curious. When they changed from 11 to 191,
Yep.
I don't know how many times people said to me, "What channel is it on?" They have no idea where it is.
Yeah, right.
well, that was
Crazy
a
because
lame thing.
that
They
never
have
should have
no
happened.
idea.
That never should have happened either. Right.
No.
Where this station is on now.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and that definitely hurt it. I mean, it definitely did hurt it, but I think at the end of the day, to best answer your question, I think it depends upon what's going on. I mean, when we were talking about the school and we had that big program on it, there could have been 1,000 people watching. When I was talking about Donald Trump for an hour, there could have been 10 people watching. I
Well,
think
you know something?
it really depends.
Your hero, Donald Trump, he's the president. He's a businessman.
Yes, he
Right?
is.
And this is a business deal. He's going to save some money here for the businesses. They're
Yeah.
going to make more profit.
Sure. There you go.
I don't recall you saying that he was your
No,
hero.
I don't know that he's my
All the
hero caller,
Democrats
but
signed that paper. How many Republicans are on that paper?
Well, there's two different
Well, with
papers.
all the names. How many Republicans?
There's two
No,
different
I got-
papers.
There's Republicans.
Not any.
There's two of them.
There's two different papers, and
We
there's
got
names
both
on
of them.
each.
We got Ryan. We got
The one
Ryan
paper
Fabin
with
and
all
David Moradian.
Elizabeth Warren. How many Republicans have signed that
I'm
paper?
telling you.
Just one letter has
One
three.
letter has two
What
or
about the other
three.
one? The one with Elizabeth Warren.
None.
How many
They got
Republicans
none.
signed that paper?
Not one that I know of. Not one.
Because
don't
because
care.
because
No,
they
they
did
don't
their
care.
own
They
because they
don't
signed
care.
their own letter.
Okay.
Maybe they got
Thank
their own
you.
letter. All right, bud. Thank you. Have a good one. I do appreciate the call.
Thanks for making that a partisan issue.
You know, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, you know, first of all, Trump's not my hero.
Yeah.
I like some, I don't like some.
Sure. I
But
think
Republicans
everybody
and
knows.
Democrats, in my opinion, are both, you know, they're the same. There's no big difference. I was going to talk about some of that today with Chris, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to get to it, but I'm going to try. I'll see if anybody else wants to jump on in. But
Check, I feel like he won that exchange.
what's that?
Does he feel like he won that exchange? He
Well-
made some valid point.
I think he made a very valid point, though, that the Republicans will probably on this go along. They're probably receiving more lobby money
Sure.
of that
Yeah,
30 million bucks. I
Right.
bet more of it's going to Republicans.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
you know it's going to benefit the business, and Warren can say she rallied against the cable companies and use it as a point. And I knew that was right when I saw the name on the letter. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shite, here we go. Right? All right, hang on one second. Let's jump back on the line. So this could be 400 to 500, I guess, by the FCC's help. Good evening. You are next on the Freedom Network. Welcome.
Good evening, Gary. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing well. I apologize for a bit of my raspy voice. I'm
It's okay.
not feeling anywhere close to 100%, but I
Well-
wanted to call in and say hello.
Well, we hope you feel better. We'll preface the whole conversation by that, just in case it goes south. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we do hope you feel better. What's on your mind?
Well, so I want to call in. So this is Representative David Meridian,
Yep.
and I just wanted to call in. I know you're talking about the FCC and whatnot, and unfortunately, while a lot of it is out of the purview that we can control on the state level, I was happy to work with my counterparts, both Senator Fatman and Senator Moore, in drafting up a letter that we sent to the FCC yesterday and today. So we sent it in the mail yesterday and made sure that we faxed it today to make sure that it was dated earlier, but obviously got there in time for the 14th deadline.
Yep. That's fantastic. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, Dave. I would not have known that was you unless you told me that was you. You do some. You need some homemade chicken soup.
Listen, I've been trying to have soup and fluids and whatnot, so I think I've run myself a little too ragged right now, but the job doesn't stop, as they say, right?
No,
The
it
show must
doesn't.
go
You're
on.
right. It doesn't. The show's got to go on.
So your show and mine. So
Yeah, it's
we
true.
really made sure to work on this letter. It was important.
Yeah, no, I think it was, Dave. You know, I think it was important. I think it's really good that, you know, like Jim had even alluded to before, it's not really a partisan issue here. It's about the people.
Of course.
It's about the ability of the people to have the access. It's not about agreeing or disagreeing. And I know that this has got, you know, I mean, you've got Republicans, you've got some Democrats, but at the end of the day, to me, this isn't a party kind of an issue, or it shouldn't be anyway. I just want to thank you for doing it. Yeah, it's
I
good.
think you hit the nail right on the head, summed it up perfectly. It's a person issue, and that's, I think, what most of us in politics are pulling for, is to do the right thing for what we feel is everyone. And so this is the right thing. I mean, when the Northridge Community TV Facebook page made us aware of it and reached out to us, and Bill and Harry and everyone over there, you know, we wanted to do our part. And it remains to be seen what the decision on the ruling comes to be, but we wanted to make our voices very well heard, even if they are a bit raspy.
Yeah, no, and it's really good to see so many people to get lined up, you know, behind it, and to see people motivated to use it, and even conversations like this. And you know, it's really interesting because through this program, you and I have even had a lot of, you know, questions. I've sent you messages on Facebook, just trying to get some information about one thing or the other, and always you get back. You always reply. You always get back. Doesn't matter if we agree or disagree. You always get back to it. And I wouldn't even know how to reach out to you if I didn't learn all that through actually this local process. That, you know, how to get a hold of you and who's friends with you, and hey, Dave, accept this guy Gary's friend request or something like that. I mean, but it's really amazing that this is a catalyst for so much conversation just between us and the local governments. And I know that I drive you guys all crazy, but it's really great to see that you guys are here. I hope that our town government also will come or has come out and supported the station, because I think they really are important. And I do thank you. I know you're sick. I won't keep you, Dave. But and thank you, as people are getting those constitutions, Massachusetts constitutions. Just so you know, as I said the other day, I called or messaged Dave. I said, "This is what I need. Can you help me out?" He said, "Let me work on it." Bang. So I'm at a town meeting, and there we go.
Right.
So bravo to you. Congratulations on another term in office too. That's good.
Well, I
Glad you're there.
appreciate that quite a bit. It's a job that I take very seriously, and it's an honor to be the representative. And you know what? These cable access shows, what you guys are doing there now, I mean, it's so informative for people to tune in, get the local take, whether it's watching a planning board meeting or, the Freedom Network or a selectmen's meeting or what have you. You tune in, you actually get your finger on the pulse and figure out what the heck's going on in your town. So
Yeah.
anything that we can do to keep the information out there, obviously you know full well, because you do a good job of reaching out to me and keeping me informed too. But if there's anything that I can do for you guys or anyone else, just let me know, keep me posted, and we'll certainly do all that we can.
You got it, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Hope you feel better soon.
I appreciate it. Have a good night.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There goes Dave Meridian.
How about that?
State rep, 9th Worcester District. That's your state rep. Well, not your state. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
They do
what this.
Oxford?
I don't know where you are. I don't know. I barely know where I am, for crying out loud. What do you think? But to see that's great. To see folks calling in from within. In our last one too. I mean, our last call was he said he was on the board or whatever. He was involved with the station, and that's great. It's all these people, all the stuff that you meet, all the stuff that we get going locally, whether you agree or disagree, really does make a difference in these communities. It
Right.
really and truly does.
Yeah.
It does. So I think that it's really amazing. And I had a touch of it in Stoughton, but to be honest with you, out here, it's so much more local, and the people really do respond to the local stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we love coming on here and
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about my hero,
Right.
But but it's very obvious that people do like to talk about the local stuff, so we
Right.
try to turn it local.
Sure.
We always give you the option to turn it local if you want to, and it really is tough to know who's out there, but when there's a big issue, a big meeting, a big something going on, man, this place gets fired up. We've run out of time for emails.
Right.
We've taken calls throughout an hour. We've had hours where there's no emails and there's no calls, which is why I love it
There's
when you
usually
show
a
up.
couple of emails.
Yeah, right. They usually are. But at the end of the day, people being involved at what level they want to be involved in. That they know, hey, you know what? I'm eating steak down at the Valley Pub right now, and I'm not at home to watch it. Well, it's good because
Well,
it's
yes,
there.
they are there
But
to watch it.
bad excuse. But I'm at Jube's and I'm eating dinner at Jube's. I'm having a turkey club. Far cry from a steak, but hey, I would think you'd rather the steak. But if they do have a good turkey club there, though, it's not a bad.
I've never had
turkey.
the turkey club.
It is a good turkey club.
I'll take your word for it for now.
But yeah, for now. But when you need it, it's here. I think you'd hate to be able, not be able to go to the local world when you want to, and it's all really made possible by people that volunteer their time and other people, very few people that do a whole ton of work to make it all happen.
Right.
And you got to be able to. People ain't gonna do that for free. So you need some kind of a budget. You need equipment and all that kind of stuff. And it's a real TV station. I mean, that's what you wind up with. That's yours. It's not like it's mine.
Not yours.
No,
You're taking advantage of it.
I'm taking advantage of it. So I don't know. I don't know. Chris, if you're out there, man, I'm talking to Chris Mader. I am sorry. I have no time to do you justice, but I will make time next week because I love to talk about politics with Chris. He's just very informative. He's been here before.
Sure, yeah.
Hopefully you can come next week and we can get Chris on, and that'll be a great little roundtable discussion. And when he's in the area, he'll take, or if he's close, he'll take the ride. We have to go over to him though, to his studio. He's got a studio where he does internet radio.
Okay.
He's got a bigger show than this.
Yeah.
It's big. It's big. You gotta.
All right, let's go then.
He's big.
Let's do it.
KTNT is his.
And it's radio?
It's radio.
Yeah.
I don't think you get it on the video, but you might.
Would
There
we
might
be
a
able to
video
take
link.
equipment from here and bring it there? And
Yeah, we could. We
Yeah.
can now anyway,
Yeah.
because we have that ability, but in 8 months, you might not be able to. Isn't that crazy?
right?
Look, folks, there was a million other things to get to, but I thought this was really important. We'll keep it open as a segment. As we get info, we will give you info. I know people have emailed me. When are we going to talk about the Second Amendment? When are we going to talk about this? When are we going to talk about that? When are you going to say you were wrong about Trump? Blah, 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 blah. I get it. I will. We'll do that kind of a show. That fires me up. I'll yell, I'll scream. It'll be fun. But when the local stuff comes around, we want to make sure that we address it, because if it wasn't for the local stuff, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Jim. We're going to make way now. We got...
Harry coming on?
Yeah, is Harry coming? Harry's good? Harry's good to go, so he'll be on. He might touch on this. He may have some insight into it as well. So I'd stay tuned for that. Freedom is freedom, folks. Doesn't matter whether we're talking about broadcasting right here, whether we're talking about the Constitution. Like I always tell you at the end of the show, we'll see you next week. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Gary.
Stay free, folks.
Because we are the brave. Yes, we are the brave. We'll fight you.